Hello, good evening. You're welcome to Opinion Sharers. My name is Paul, and today we are going to be talking about domestic violence, which other people know it as the intimate partner violence, IPV, in the world of sociology. If you follow the news in Nigeria, you would notice that it's what a lot of people are talking about now. A lot of media houses, bloggers, and people who like to talk like us. Everybody is talking about it. And when you look at research, you find out that intimate partner violence or domestic violence is common. It's something that is common all around the world, not just in Nigeria or in Africa. But I think what we've seen recently is that because of social media, because we have more access to the internet and information. So a lot of those abuses are getting more and more recorded. And then, because of this Austin and Sheets issue that has happened, you see that a lot of people are now posting videos of where either a man or a woman beating their spouse. And so it is becoming more and more common. And so that's why here on Opinion Sharers,
Sorry,
I have decided
good
that
evening.
we should talk about it today. All right, you're welcome, Chinon. So just give me 1 minute. So I have a heavy material here because I've been doing a lot of research preparing for all of this. I have a pastor in the house. I have a PhD holder. I have a mother in the house. I have a young lady. I'm gonna be having a young man who is also married. I'm married myself, and I consider myself a young man. So I believe that the discussion is going to be detailed. It's going to be interesting because we're going to be looking at it from the perspective of culture, economy, and religion. Because I personally, this is just my perspective. If you've seen the flyer, the flyer, I wrote that we have a problem that has a root in our culture and religion. And this is not just about Christian religion, it cut across all the religions that is practiced, especially in Nigeria. I feel like even though there have been some attempts by religious leaders to try to say, okay, don't beat your wife or don't beat your husband, or, to control domestic violence, but I think we've not done enough in terms of what we teach, in terms of what we practice. So there's going to be a lot of questions today. I'm expecting that it's going to be like a debate. I'm going to be asking questions, and I will allow people to freely choose what they want to answer and what they don't want to answer. Even though I'm expecting that we give some chance to ourselves. So I'm not going to just be calling names, unless maybe once in a while I might call name. Just normally I will call a question and they call somebody to answer it. But this today, what I'm planning to do is to throw the question out and let whoever feels like he wants to answer it to answer it. So we are all adults, and wherever that I think I needed to ask a particular question to a particular or specific person, I will do that. So thank you very much. Pardon me for the long introduction, sorry. So before I begin to interview my guests and ask them to introduce themselves, I'd like for us to take a few seconds to quickly share the link. Let us share. We are live on Facebook, on 2 Facebook pages. We are live on YouTube as well. So please, if you're watching, help us grab the link and share. And our guests also, if you are in a position to share, please grab the link and share so that we can invite people to.
Paul is
Okay.
muted. Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to share the link from my phone and it was speaking. So I was fighting with it because I don't want the audio from the phone to be reflecting. So thank you. So I'm trying to also share. Please help us share the link. It's I think it will be beautiful if we have people who can watch it, and it might be it will be advantageous if you can share it.
Did you tag
And
me?
Isem?
Did you tag me?
Oh, okay, let me tag you. I will tag you. So please, if you're joining us, we are taking a few minutes to share the link across board so that people can join us. If you have a question that you would like to ask, please do so in the comment section. We'll be reading the questions just in case you want to ask questions. You can direct your question to everybody. You can direct your question to any particular guest. Please feel free to do so. I am okay. So now, let me go and tag Mom Dorothy with this one. Okay, Chinom, so you're welcome. So let us start with introducing ourselves. And since Pastor Olusegun is the one that is relatively new here today, so we'll give him the chance to first of all introduce himself. Please tell us about yourself and audience, and as much as you want to share.
All right. Thank you for the privilege to be here. As is boldly written, my name is Olusegun Mokuolu. I'm a journalist by training. I'm a civil servant and also a child of God. I'm the coordinator of Living Throne Ministry. Thank you very much.
All right. You're welcome. Thank you. Village boy. Oh, let's wait, village boy. Let's take a woman. Mommy Dorothy. Are you there? Oh, she's not there. Okay. Chi.
Okay, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I was trying to allow the tag. Yeah, my name is
Okay.
Dorothy Chinenyenwa Frank Taylor.
All
I'm a
right.
mother and a grandmother. I go night school. Thank you all. Now night school I go. So I greet all of you.
You're welcome. Village boy.
Thank you. I am the village boy.
Okay. Chi.
All right, good evening, everybody. My name is Ondume Linda Chinomso, and I am here to learn. So thank you once again for letting me to share my own opinion on opinion sharers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chi. You're welcome to Opinion Sharers once again. So we are still expecting one of our guests. Michael is saying it is great to have a topic like this discussed. Thank you, Michael. Michael is a regular on this platform. He's a son of the soil, son of the soil. So, but he's been busy. He's busy today, particularly. That's why he's not on the show with us. So it's dropping comment in the comment section. We are expecting Tosin to join us. Tosin is in Dubai, and he said he was on his way a few minutes ago, so he will join us shortly. Now, I'll begin to read out some of my questions. I was saying earlier that I have about over 20 questions that I've written here. I've done extensive research over this. But before I go to my questions, there are a few things that I want to point out. in the form of, I want, generally on opinion sharers, we want it to be educative. We want it to be, as much as we are sharing our opinions, well, most especially we want it to be educative so that other people, at least one or two persons who would watch this, whether live or after, would be able to learn something. So there are some facts that I have gathered about domestic violence in Nigeria, especially. Now, some of the facts that I have gathered is that domestic violence has it's multidimensional, or whatever is resulting to it is multidimensional. I call it ethno-religious. It has ethno-religious dimension, and out of that, I have coined these few factors out. That is psychology and economic challenges, the aspect of law in Nigeria, and the influence of religion, and the influence of culture. Now, a few of the things that I would like to read out to be like information would be this: that mental stress among Nigerians, according to WHO, says about 50 million Nigerians are having issues that's relating to mental health. And like people would say that boys are not smiling in Nigeria, the rate at which economic stress and pressure is impacting Nigerians at this particular time, only God can measure it. Now, if you look at the issue of ritual killings lately, you probably would understand that a lot of people are probably under the influence of mental illness, because it will be difficult for me. My mom was telling me sometimes ago, I think last week, that somebody killed his girlfriend and was having sex with the dead body, for days. So I think somebody would have to have been crazy, or under the influence of something to be comfortably doing that, whether comfortably or not, doing that. Now, under law, and I'm sorry if I'm taking time. Okay, let me take some questions. Then I'll come back to some of these things that I've written so that I don't bore our guests and the viewers. So, what is on my list here? The number one question is the issue. I'm not going to ask people to define what domestic violence is. We already know. Okay, so in your opinion, what is the origin of for better for worse in marriage, and how does it perhaps influence or lead to domestic violence? Anybody can answer. If you want to answer, and I just bring it to the screen.
Okay, let me.
Okay.
Do you want me to give the first shot, or Madam Dorothy?
Okay, village boy, take the first shot.
Okay, the truth is that the concept for better for worse doesn't have a biblical root. I've done extensive search through the scripture. It has nothing to do with the Bible. However, it is just like in every society, you have a law, then you have policy. But usually, policy are derivable from law. You can just, even in the Bible, you have the 10 Commandments in the book of Exodus. Just some are like one or two lines. Then you have the whole lot of Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, explaining those laws, expanding on those laws, creating policy around those laws. So somebody sat down someday and said, okay, let us create a marital vow around the scripture. The scripture what the scripture says, therefore, or for this cause, a man shall leave his father and his mother, and he will be joined with his wife, and the two shall become one. And in Ephesians, I say this is the mystery of oneness. So, for better for worse, it's just a kind of expanding what is in the scripture. So we cannot say it as a biblical root, as it were. However, it is a valid interpretation of a man and a woman living and being joined together. And from cultural perspective, because of what in Yoruba, for instance, there is this concept what we call Dale Moshu, which is very derogatory. Dale Moshu is a case where a married man or a married lady come back to her father's house. Even in some cases, there are a lot of social label for that, and it's not something palatable. It's not something that every woman will want to do. So the marital vow that we recite in church or we are made to say is not a scriptural statement. That, however, we can place it that okay, it's a policy that was created by someone around the scripture of a man leaving his father and his mother and being joined together as one body. But I don't think that is a valid ground for domestic violence. Note also that domestic violence is it's the second research interest apart from diversity and inclusion, and I've published journal article together with Michael on domestic violence. In fact, the second one is coming. The other aspect we should measure about love and everything. As we go ahead, I'll be able to expatiate more on this. So that statement, for better for worse, is a coinage of somebody somewhere someday that's okay. Let's add this to the marital vow. It is not strictly scriptural. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mommy
Um,
Dorothy.
yes, I thank you for this particular phrase because this phrase seems to have destroyed so many lives. For better, for worse, does not mean that even when your wife is beating you or your husband is beating you, you should stay there. For better, for worse means they said you marry your man for better, for worse, to hold and to cherish. That for better, for worse is simply saying that when you marry a man and he becomes poor, has an accident, or things are not moving well for him, you cannot say because he is worse now, then you leave him, or he got paralyzed or something. That is the only explanation for better, for worse, is if you marry a man, he becomes to hold and to cherish. He becomes your friend, your lover. So when he needs your help, like he's financially down and you're a woman, you have 10 kobo, you help him with. He has an accident, he's paralyzed. He has high blood pressure, he has diabetes. You use roots. You know the things to do to help him, not to leave him because he is now worse, not to abandon him. That is only where for better for worse comes in. Not when your wife is beating you, your husband is beating you, you now say for better for worse until death do us part. That is not the explanation. It is to be there for one another when the need arises. Not when the man has money, you are there. When he has no money, off you go. That is not that's not the meaning. So it is not to stay in danger. No, that's not the explanation. You can't say no matter
Okay.
what is happening in your marriage, you stay there. No. And again, the pastors, thank God there's a pastor in our midst. The pastor should help us and change this narrative of telling new couple that there's no third party in their marriage. When you tell a new couple there's no third party, the man is beating her, the wife is beating him, he cannot talk. Pastor say no third party. There must be third party. Because when there's no cancer, the people perish. So the pastor should stop telling them no third party. It is you and your wife. No. When you have issues, seek counsel. Talk to somebody, get help. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you very much. This one, my next question will directly go to the pastor in our midst. And the question is that I want him to comment on the fact that the Bible says that the only ground for divorce is sexual immorality. All right. And what if, this guy though has not gone to cheat, or this woman has not gone to cheat, all right, but is continuously nagging or beating either of the spouse, you understand? And you say, oh, and it comes to you as a pastor, and you say, oh, you cannot leave him, and the church has gone a step further. I'm trying to say this. I mean, the village boy, Dr. Bolu, is also qualified to be a pastor. Okay, so it's not just about the pastor, or the person that carries the title of pastor among us. And perhaps the village boy also might share this perception. But so what? Okay, sorry, I was talking about the fact that the church has recently adopted, separate for a while. They will say separate for a while. When you separate for a while, what happens? What is the assurance that when you separate for a while, maybe for 1 month, 2 months, that anything would happen? And I've seen a lot of Nigerian men, when you say they separate, before you know it, he has moved on to another woman. But the woman here is relegated to nothing in the society. If the woman begins to date another person, people will begin to broadcast it and mock her. But the guy, nobody says anything. I know people like that in my life, who have lived on and moved on with their life. Anyway, Pastor.
All right, thank you very much. First, let me start from where our mommy ended, talking about pastors telling people there is no third party. The first thing I want to say is that pastor doesn't put people in problem. How do I mean? We have been preaching that people should not fornicate. People still fornicate. We have been preaching that people should not tell lies. People tell lies. As in, basically, people do whatever they really want to do. So to now lay claim that, oh, is what this pastor is saying that is making people to suffer, it's a lie. It's just hypocrisy. People eventually, if you preach against homosexuality, you still have homosexuals in the church. No matter what you preach, people will do whatever they want to do. So people are actually free to do whatever they want to do. The concept of not having third party is this way. Not having a third party is not saying that you don't need counsel. Not having a third party is not saying that you have an issue you cannot meet with someone. It's simply saying that this marriage is between the two of you, in the sense that you cannot, for example, say, well, this is what my sister said I should be doing, so that's what I'll be doing. This is what my own mother said I should be doing. I don't care what you say. This one's friend comes, says, no, this is how to run the marriage. And then you are just allowing everybody to influence your homes. The two of you are not working as one. It is in that respect that they say that, see, there is no third party. The marriage is between you and someone, and your spouse. But if you have an issue that you need to speak to somebody, that I don't think there's nothing wrong with that. Why will you not take advantage of that? Why will anybody not seek help and say, sir, I'm going through this. This is the challenge. That's not a case of you don't have third party. Then the issue of adultery or fornication, actually the King James Version uses the word fornication, and that has an implication. But let me leave that. Let me just say this. We need to differentiate who we are addressing when we are talking about marriage. When a Muslim gets married, is marrying under certain rules and understanding. When a non-believer marries, is marrying under certain rules and understanding. When someone who is born again gets married, it's also different. So, for example, two people who are not living for Jesus, they get married. They are having issues in their marriage. Now they say, oh, you see all these people preaching against divorce. No, the message of the kingdom is first of all a message to believers. I'm seeing a situation today whereby people who do not submit their life to Christ, they have issues, and then they are blaming the church for that issue. They are blaming the church, that the church is responsible or the pastors are responsible. You must understand that when Jesus said, if you look at a woman and lust in your heart, that you have committed adultery. Now, it's only a child of God who understands that and who can walk victorious over that. He is not going to impose that on somebody that doesn't know him. When Jesus said, husband, love your wife as Christ loved the church, that is not a message for every husband. In fact, that book is written to the saint in Ephesus, because a man that doesn't know Jesus, he can't even love his wife as Christ loved the church, because he doesn't even understand it. So we will be doing something critically wrong to now take that man and say, no, this is how you should love. He's not even born again. He doesn't even have the life. He doesn't even know that Jesus. So I want us to first of all clear that. So as a believer, the first thing is that you have a personal relationship with Jesus. You want to please Jesus personally. So if you have an issue in your marriage, for example, and the man is violent, very violent, and then you leave that house, you see, it's not first of all, what does the church say? This person also has a personal relationship with God. He himself also wants to please God. If somebody says you are free to tell lies, will you now say, well, because my pastor tells me that I'm now free to tell lies, that's what I want to do? No, you are not going to do that, because you know personally that as a child of God, you should not be telling lies. Lies should not proceed out of your mouth. So the person has a personal relationship. The church is not, to the best of my knowledge, adopting they can separate for a while. I don't think that's what the church is doing. I'm saying that it is not a doctrine, and it will never be a doctrine of the church. It is just normal human common sense. If somebody walks into this room and they want to hit me, I will run out. I will run out of this house. I don't need anybody to preach to me. I don't need any doctrine from scripture. It's not doctrine. It is just normal human response. Why will you not run if somebody wants to kill you? And we have defined also that, see, the marriage is a covenant. The house does not make the marriage. So a man can be in Jamaica and his wife is in Israel. According to our own understanding, if any of them engage in sex with another person, it is adultery, even though there is a considerable distance between them. So it is not the house that makes marriage. The reason why whatever they do outside is adultery is because that marriage is a covenant. So distance notwithstanding, even if he travels to the moon and engage with another person on the moon, it is still adultery, because it's a covenant. You will violate covenant anywhere you are. So that's why we are saying that it's common sense. You don't need anybody to preach. It's not church stand. It's not what church is preaching. It's just common sense. If God forbid, if my wife walks in now with a cutlass, I'm going to leave this place. I'm going to run somewhere, and I'm not going to come into this house until something is settled. Now, but that has not nullified in any way the fact that I'm still married to her. It has not.
Okay.
So let's always separate. Let's not. It's just like a Muslim trying to impose Sharia on me. I'm not living by that law. So let's not apply what is clearly something for people who are believers and then apply it to people of the world. It's going to create confusion.
All right, Pastor, thank you. I would have asked a follow-up question, but that would deprive other people, because we have six people on the platform. But I would say this, that somehow, in my own perspective, that the religious organizations, including the church and the mosque, which is famous and controls a lot of lives in Nigeria, are responsible for majority of what is happening socially in that geographical location. That is my perspective. Anyway, henceforth, please let us adhere to, let's endeavor to take maybe maximum of 2 minutes. I know there are so many things that we want to talk, but then we may not have time to say everything. So I would go to my next question. Uh, and this, I will specifically ask Chinonso about this one. What would have happened if Osinachi had divorced her husband or left the marriage? In your opinion, as a Nigerian who is a church member, we know her position in the church. What do you think people would be saying if she had left or divorced the man? We can't hear you. Now you unmute yourself now and then begin to talk here.
Okay, so I felt like she would have felt pain, shame, sorry, coming from the African Nigerian setting where a marriage or a woman living in a husband's house is a taboo. So most times, a lot of women that want to leave abusive relationship, that want to leave a marriage that is toxic, the first thing they think about is shame. She would have felt shame. What would the people say? What would the church say? And she was like a very important figure in the church. So what would my pastor say? What would my church say? What would my friends say? I have I have shown or given people a different narrative, different opinion about my marriage is perfect. That's why a lot of people do not come out from this relationship. Then personally, I think, if personally to herself, apart from what the public would think, personally to herself, it was the fact of, will I be able to cope? Will I be able to fend for myself and my children? Where will I go to afterwards? Because domestic violence is not just the physical violence alone. It is, when it comes to the point of the abusive the relationship, emotionally, psychologically, where I'm sure you heard where the part where her son spoke and said, daddy collected mommy's car and didn't even allow. So he made her feel like he made her feel dependent on him, that without him there was no other thing that she could do. So at this point, she wasn't just thinking about herself. Okay, let's take away shame. If she had overcome the shame, I'm sure she would have been feeling, okay, the financial aspect, will I be able to take care of my children? What do I have? Will I be able to take care of myself? Where would I fall to? Where is my safe place? Who is going to listen to me? So she didn't even tell her family about it. So that was the only issue I felt like she was facing: the shame and then the financial aspect of it. What will she do afterwards? Somebody that she has been dependent on all the years of the marriage.
Thank you so much, Chi. My next question, even though I said I wasn't going to call call names, but please allow me to because I want us to have it equal to some extent, even as we run through it. Tosin, this question will go to you. When you look at religious platforms in Nigeria, okay? When I mean religious platforms, I'm talking about all religions in Nigeria, including Islam, Christianity, and the traditional beliefs. So if you occupy a platform in Nigeria, maybe as a pastor, as a chorister, or as a preacher, or as a teacher, as a worker, generally as we call it, what kind of do you think this subject people to situations or conditions where they believe that they would have to endure in order to portray themselves in a particular way to the people?
If I get your question right, if being in a particular workforce in church will force people to pretend as if they are living a perfect life.
Yes.
Okay, okay. Thank you. What I think we as parents should start teaching our kids from now, if we have not been doing that, is that they should live their life to please themselves and to please God, and not to please anybody around, including their pastors. It is of a truth that when people belong to a church unit, they want to live a perfect life. And they want to live a perfect life. They want to live a life of another person. Sometimes even to their dressing, to the way they walk, to what they listen to or what they talk, they want to listen, they want to please other people. If we continue to live our life to please other people, when are we going to live our own life? When are we going to fulfill our own potential in God? That's another thing is the society, the church, especially, is not fair to the female, to women. If this lady would have left that abusive marriage, you will see that ministers will stop calling her to minister on their pulpit and all that. After the death, some days ago, we have the testimony of a particular lady who is also a minister and left an abusive marriage. The name Faith, and she gave account of how people were running away from her, how people she even called her mentor were discouraging other pastors from inviting her to minister on their pulpit, claiming that she is a divorcee. But we have seen pastors that are male that have divorced their wives and nothing happened to them. Nothing happened to them. So people, because they believe to a particular church or they belong to a workforce in the church, they seems to want to live a perfect life, forgetting that nobody is perfect. Nobody is perfect. No matter how hard we try, we can only be working towards perfection. So in the case of this, because there's no, I will not talk about her. She's the talk of the moment now, the Osinashi case. In our own case, I think people should just learn to live their own life for themselves and not to please other people. And people also should stop seeing themselves as role model to anybody. They should stop seeing themselves as role model to anybody and say, if I do this, I feel so person. No. If you do anything that is wrong, you only feel yourself only and God, and not other people. And another thing is, we also should look at people less. We should not be looking at people because they have a particular ministry and we see them as they should be perfect. They should be without fault. We are all humans. There's no angel among us. So our church department, church unit, ministries should start taking it easy with people that are married. And especially because you don't follow them home and you don't really know what is happening when the door is closed and it is only those couple there. So the church should take it soft with those that are married and also listen to people's story, people's testimony about what is really going on in their home, and not judge them and on what they are saying outside or what the Bible say. That's my submission then.
All right, thank you, Dustin.
Okay, please, can I say something?
Okay, mommy, let me read out this question. You can now respond to it and this one in 2 minutes. I'm trying to manage the time. All right. So I would have actually asked here that what is at stake, especially for women who decide that they were going to leave their marriage. But Chisholm and Tosin has, in responding to that question specifically about the OC, they've mentioned a few things, because I personally feel like there's a lot that is at stake for a Nigerian woman who decides to leave her husband or leave the marriage, which is a deterrent, for not leaving. And we are going to talk about the role of the family, family members. I personally know people in my life. Each time the husband send them out, it is the family that will insist that they come back. Even when it was a persistent, abusive relationship. Anyway, my question is this, mommy, I want you to take this one. At what time, when a woman or a man is in an abusive relationship, at what time do you say enough is enough?
Okay. First and foremost, I want every woman listening to me to hear this. The Bible said, if your conscience does not condemn you, you are free and safe. At any point in time, you feel you have done your best and it is not working, do not die there. If you make up your mind to go, don't mind what the church will say, what your friends will say, don't care about that. Once your conscience does not condemn you, please take a walk. And again, hear this. Igbo say, Osondo agwike. Like, if a war breaks out this minute, none of us will think of property or children. Anybody will take off first running. So when you have a need to run for your life, the first thing you should think of is not how to survive, what you are going to eat. Make a move first. Save yourself first. And I made a post. I said, if you have nowhere to go, run to any other church, not your own church, or a mosque, and say, I need help. Please help me. I have no home. I'm running from danger. This is my problem. Once you know that your conscience does not condemn you, please don't stay there and die there. Please. And again, on Osinachi's case, she seems like the breadwinner. She makes the money that is paid into her husband's account. Every money is paid into his account. He controls everything. And when some ministers called her, a pastor said he called her for a job, paid into her husband's account, and her husband saw that many people were showing interest to attend the program. The husband now increased her charges, and the pastor said, no, I cannot afford it. And the woman did not go for that program. He didn't allow the woman to go. The woman was now appealing to that pastor. Please, my husband. No, you don't run your life like that. You're not a robot. If you're having problem getting him or her to do the needful, get counsel. It's unfortunate that Nigerian police is something else. Because if you run to Nigerian police, you are causing problem for yourself. Because they will begin to use you to siphon you money. Every time you call them, you have to spend money. So for you to go to Nigerian police, you must be rich. So, but run to anywhere you can get help. Run first for your dear life. How can he be there? You saw a man coming to beat you. He has beaten you before. Another time he wants to beat you. You are still staying there. For crying out loud, even if you are naked, run outside like that, naked. Let the whole world see him and you. Let him chase you outside. When you are running for safety, you don't look back. First thing is safety. So the question is, when is it enough? You wear the shoe. You know where it pinches. If a man is poor, has no money, and he has bad mouth too, that one too can kill. Even for women who badmouth their husband, call them names. Those are verbal, emotional abuse. It takes your self-esteem from you. I keep saying, you can get help. There are good marriage counselors out there who are strangers, who do not know you, who will tell you the truth. The problem is that most women don't like to hear the truth. And most women respect their pastors more than their husbands. So if you talk to your pastor says stay, you stay there. You can't see, only a madman will see somebody coming with cutlass on your head, and you put your head there for the cutlass to cut your head. You first of all move. So when it is time to move, you wear the shoe, you know how much you have endured. Having said that, I'm not also saying that any small thing you run. No, you have to put in your best. It's only when your best is not enough, and when you have gotten cancer and nothing is changing. Yes, temporary separation have been known to solve problems. Because I'm into marriage counseling, I've seen some couple whom are advised to separate temporarily, not too long, and then the man or the woman realizes the importance of that partner during that separation, and he actually agrees, misses that person, and wants to change. And again, before you do temporary separation with a man in Nigeria, you must be a woman who is an asset. A man whom you are nagging, who you call name, when you separate temporarily, who is not happy with you, there's no peace at home. When you separate temporarily, he will go and do Thanksgiving and go and get another person sharp. But if you're a woman of value and you separate temporarily, that man cannot survive without you. He will surely look for you. He will make changes to his life. So the time to leave is where you know that nothing else is working, all cancer. Again, why are you people leaving family out of marriages? If that man didn't marry you, again, moving into a man's house who didn't marry you, living lover, is also a problem, because when the problem happens, who do you call? Or you want to marry a man, your parents say, don't marry this man, don't marry this girl. Listen to them, work with them, so that when the fire comes, they too can come in. Most men those days, they fear their family, they don't want to bring them to shame. So they behave themselves when their wife report them. But today we have left family out of the marriage entirely. We are doing everything by ourselves. You meet a man on social media, you move into his house. So when problems start, whom do you call? What is the marriage foundation that you have? All these things are a problem. But whatever, if you make a mistake of choice, don't die inside there. First run to safety and look for help from outside for him, if or her. If the help is not working, make it a permanent departure. Don't die in any marriage. There's no marriage in heaven now.
All right, thank you, Ma. I'm going to ask a question going directly to one to the village boy, one to the pastor. Which one comes first? Okay, let me take the village boy first and then pastor. I will read the two questions so that you just prepare your mind for it, pastor. The question is this. It's two in one because we don't have much time. So the first one is, what is your perspective in terms of equality between men and women? That's one. The second leg of the question is this. When you look at the principles, these are basic principles that I have taken from Ephesians 5. All right. The first one is two becoming one. The third one is submitting to each other or to one another. And the last one here is saying that, wife, submit yourself to your own husband as you do to the Lord. Now, the question, when you look at these principles, is how well is this playing out in the current Nigeria? That is my question to Pastor. I hope it makes sense. It models together. But now this is to village boy. How much do people know about laws relating to abuse in marriage or general abuse in Nigeria? How much do you think people know? What is the prevailing knowledge, and what is the source of this prevailing knowledge? Is village boy there? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I'm here. What your question is based on an assumption, and I have to clear that assumption. That assumption that you have may now actually be a very, very strong assumption. From my study on domestic violence, up until recently, most Nigerian states depend on penal codes, and penal codes are more of the law that we inherited from the colonialists. So they've not done so much issue to address the specific issue about domestic violence. So the penal code does not address domestic violence the way it should. Some states have tried to create a domestic violence law. Lagos State, I think Cross River State, and then sometimes I think states were doing something. It doesn't look like they've concluded. So even the study I did with some other scholars about Lagos State, the law is okay, but the policy that was formulated to operate that law, there are a lot of deficiency in it because it did not address the challenges that women face specifically. And in the study we carried out, we discovered that despite that Lagos State, who has even done some work, have an agency where you can domestic agents, where you can report when you have domestic violence. People are generally not even aware that this agency exists. And again, the focus of that agency, unfortunately, is about children. How to keep the children of domestic violence safe. That is the major focus of the agency. And we have come up with a research paper which we forwarded to them that, look, we felt that this is very grossly insufficient because research in the literature, it is confirmed that women suffer most of domestic violence. I must also add that, okay, there's also evidence that there are men who suffer domestic violence too, but women suffer most of domestic violence incidents. So in Nigeria, there is no adequate law, you can quote me on this, that specifically address domestic violence. And that is why in most cases, people resort to either to traditional institutions, first the family, then to the church, then to the mosque. But most apparently, people go to the church to seek help when they encounter domestic violence. But beyond the theory, the practical things like the church try to mediate to find solution, even to problem, to something that is not a problem, that a dilemma. A dilemma in the sense that you either manage it or you leave it. But they see domestic violence as small as a problem, and they think that the solution is to preach peace to them. Yes, the pastor said the other time people will do what they want to do. That is partially true. There are people who are so vulnerable in knowledge, vulnerable in economic power, that they have to depend on whatever the church is instructing them or giving them. Most so-called marriage counselor and most of the time economical with the truth. These are the practical realities that we know is happening on the street. So there is no adequate law that protects women against domestic violence. But some states, I don't know what the number is now, about 3, 4, 5 states have been trying to do something about that. And Lagos, that is even ahead of them, is still not adequate. What they have done is not adequate. So there should be an advocacy. We call for advocacy of NGOs and other to put pressure on states to enact law that deal with domestic violence specifically. Now, the implementation of the law is another thing. One of the things we are recommending is like, until you prosecute perpetrators of domestic violence, maybe sometimes send them to jail or whatever you do until the law is used against them. All this we are talking will not stop domestic violence. Somebody somewhere there now is beating somebody because there is no law. How many people have gone to jail because they battered their spouse? I'm not sure there is any. The jail might be filled with people who still go to telephone and everything. So we have to have law at the state level, and this law should be enforced, whereby it will serve as deterrent to people. The church does not have the power to enforce such law. The state has the power to make law. The best role the church plays is advisory. They can only advise. And a lot of people they are advising are even ignorant. And again, when somebody is not taking straight, what advice is he going to take or is he going to implement? So we call on state assemblies in all the states to rise up to this responsibility, because this is becoming a social menace. Again, I want to also say, based on what Onu and Tosin said, there is an aspect we are neglecting: the social cohesion. What would they say is a debilitating factor against women. The societal labeling is not something we can wish away. It's not something you can just say, it doesn't matter. Oh, do what makes you happy. Is this thing, they are too simplistic answer. It is deeper than that. The society intolerance to people to complain. And not that Osinaji will be begging people, will be leading down people, begging people that they should not tell people that her husband was abusing her. This is the pressure, this is internal pressure of societal cohesion. And nobody can be an island in any society. You can't all live by yourself. Do what makes you happy. It's more of a fallacy. You need societal approval for your actions. Everybody, no matter how successful you are, you need society. That is how we are created. Then, finally, let me round up. Male children, we that are parents, we miss it from our training. Male children are not prepared for marriage. We are not prepared for marriage. Women are prepared for marriage deliberately. Men are not prepared for marriage. Our ego are not untamed. we are the only closest thing that the Yoruba will tell you, sùúrù la fi ń ṣọkọ obìnrin, that you need patience to be a husband of a woman. And why did they say so? Because they know, pardon me to use the street language here, that women's stubbornness na follow come, na factory made, follow come charger. That's why they tell us, be patient if you want to be a true
Factory
husband of a
fitted.
woman. Factory fitted. Their stubbornness is factory fitted. Apology to Madam Dorothy and Linda. So that is the best training we have, and it's not even well structured. They just say it in the past. You hear it on the street. So I think we should focus on the training of men. You can't be training the guy child to be a good wife to a boy you are not training to be a good husband. It will not work. Then when somebody has perpetrated domestic violence, they should be reported and let the law take its course. Let people be going to jail for beating their wives or for beating their husband. It is only then that we can stop this.
Thank you, sir. Before I bring Pastor on, I just, because of these things that Village Boy made mention of, I learned that in year 2020, there was rape cases, 444 cases reported in FCT, that's in Abuja. Only one was prosecuted out of 444. Only one was prosecuted. The other rapists were sent to go back and begin to continue to flourish. Now, in Nigeria, that's what they call penal code. The Village Boy talked about it, but it is domesticated in the north. It has to do beyond the colonial era. It is about their culture. So in the penal code of northern Nigeria, it said it provides that an assault by a man on a woman is not an offense if they are married. If native law or custom recognizes such correction in quote, as lawful, and if there is no grievous hurt. So if you beat your wife or if you beat the woman, as long as you don't break her hand or you don't break her head too much, you are not committed any offense. Here in the South, they use more of what they call criminal code. Here, in the South, where we come from, where people say we are highly educated, it is said that criminal code used in southern Nigeria. If a man beats a woman, it is seen as misdemeanor. But if a woman beats a man and he decides to file a complaint, that is seen as a felony. So, but when a woman beats a man, it is just a misdemeanor. But when it is a man that beats a woman, when it is the other way around now, a woman beating a man, it is felony. Anyway, that's some of the laws that, the information that I gathered while doing my research. Pastor, I hope you still remember my questions. Do I need to go over it again?
Yes, I do. I remember.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you. I want to start by keying to what Dr. Bolu said. I think we are beginning to now touch the real issue, in the sense that I wish the energy with which people are responding today is garnered towards having effective system within our legal framework where people can be prosecuted, where people know that if you do this, you can go and report easily, you are going to get justice, and so on. If we preach against stealing in the church, there will still be armed robber in the society. If the society does not have laws and men to arrest armed robbers, to imprison them, you will just be laboring in vain to be blaming the church. So many things are being blamed on the church because the society is not effective. Like he said, we are just in adversary rule. And then I want to also say that we must be careful of freeing people from their responsibility. You see, when we blame everybody, we now free the person from his or her own responsibility. I've been counseling. I have a book written on rape that is on Amazon. I've spoken to a lot of people. People have done so many things that you ask yourself, why did you Why did you do this? But I'm refraining from talking about the current situation because the family are mourning her and is still fresh. So I really don't want to be commenting on her. Otherwise, I will have pointed out a few things. But let me just address my own specific question. One, equality. Now, remember that I'm speaking strictly from a scriptural perspective. And this is the way I want to put it for clarity. There's no one answer to it, but I'm going to explain it this way. In creation, the man and the woman are equal. That means they are both human beings. They both have the nature of God in them in creation. In function, they are different. Male and female, not male and male, not female and female. So in function, they are different. In administration, there is headship. In other words, when God brings a man and a woman together, there has to be a leader. So if I have a son, for example, in creation, I and my son, we are equal. In function, we are equal because we are both male. But in administration, I am the head. My child has to obey me. So we must have that clarity. So I can't say, oh, yes, we are equal or we are not equal. Each of those one will not be absolutely correct. It has to be defined within a context. Now, when you now go to Ephesians that you mentioned, which is Ephesians chapter 5, the first thing I point out to people is that when the scripture says, wife, submit yourself to your own husband, just go back to chapter 1 of that scripture and check who is it written to. It's written to saints and faithful in Christ in Ephesus. That means that the author understands that this thing is not something that everybody can, you cannot impose it on the society. The same thing I said, that a man should love his wife as Christ loved the church. How did he love the church? While we were yet sinners, while we were ungodly, he died for us. His love is not based on us being good. So it's not reciprocal. Jesus is not responding to us because we love him. He chose to love us. And that's the way God expects a man to love his wife. It has nothing to do with her submission. It has nothing to do with whether she's good or she's bad. It's simply a man treating his wife the way Jesus would have treated her. Husband, love your wife as Christ loved the church. The same thing has to do with submission. He says, as unto the Lord. So you are really not submitting to a man. You are submitting to the Lord. But you can only submit if you have already truly submitted your life to Christ. That commandment will not be strange to you. It will not also be strange to a man that knows Christ. It doesn't matter whether his wife is submissive or not, because they are not exclusively dependent on one another. No, love is independent. Whether there is submission or not, you love, because Jesus said, love your enemies. So the same thing has to do also with submission, which leads me to where I want to round up, that our own emphasis and real labor is to teach people how to marry right. There is a story which I posted on my YouTube channel of a lady that was in a relationship maybe for 4 years or so. She was constantly being beaten. And 2 months to her wedding, she was beaten so much that she had to be admitted in the hospital. They rushed her to the hospital. When her parents came and saw her, she lied that it was an accident. This is a true life story. She shared this with her own words. She lied that it was an accident and then got married to the man. She contacted me about 3 weeks ago. The marriage has been a hell for her. As a lady, as I'm speaking to you, she can't get out of the house to go and make her hair as a lady, as a graduate. And I told her, I said, see, what you are doing is that you are killing yourself. She said she thought the man would change. I said, how can you expect him to change? How can you expect even the man's father support what the man is doing? This man beat her at ransom and made her, he has basically turned her to slave. I told her, if this story is out, I have her story. I'm yet to release it because she's in a marriage. I want to protect her. But if the story is released, people will rise up in this nation that this is slavery, because it's almost like a man locking somebody in the house. beating her, maltreating her, doing anything he likes to her. That is why it's very critical that we begin to teach how to get married right. What is the purpose of marriage? At least from a scriptural perspective. What is the process? What is the pattern?
Pastor, I'm sorry, I don't normally do this, but let me add this. There are situations where a pastor, whom is supposed to be a follower of Christ, and the woman is expected to be submissive to him as unto the Lord, right? But this man is an abusive man, is an abusive husband, and the woman, because of she's been taught that regardless, you are not submitting to him, you are submitting unto him as unto the Lord, right? And she continues to submit to him because she's a believer, right? But this man continues to beat her, and that man is also a pastor.
No, sir. You see, if there's submission does not say that if you raise a stick, and I've said this over and over again, it is not submission. Submission does not say when you raise a cutlass to kill me, I should say, oh dear, I'm submitting to you, please cut me. That is foolishness. You don't need anybody to preach it to you. It is common human response. When I see snake, I run. When I hear bow bow, I run. I don't call my pastor. Pastor, they are shooting in my environment. Oh, can I run or should I stay? People are just trying to label something wrongly. There's nowhere in the scripture that says to you that somebody want to hurt you. I said even Jesus, he ran away from a place they want to kill him. Even God had to hide Jesus in Egypt because of Herod. Can't God kill Herod? Why did God have to hide Jesus in Egypt? Until Herod died. That was when Jesus returned back to Israel. So that has nothing to do with it's not Bible, it's not scripture. If somebody wants to kill you, you don't need anybody to tell you to run. I'm telling you, if somebody wants to kill me now, I will run. I'm not going to phone anybody. I'm not going to check any verse of the scripture.
Sorry, Pastor. I think we had to stop you. But the truth is that this abuse may not even be physical beating. It might be emotional. It might be just somebody using his words, pushing you down, and so much more that it never touches you. But people will say, and when you go tell people say, wait, they beat you now. See, recently this is personal and it is emotional for me. Recently, by the reason of my program, I had to interview my grandma. So I asked my youngest sister to take phone to her, and they were talking. My grandpa is one of some people who know me, who I talk to very well. They know that I respect my grandpa so much, And then, as my grandma she's about 90-something years old now, was reliving and remembering some of her early life and marriage and all of those things. And then she mentioned to me that the man used to beat her. Man, it broke my heart. Because I feel like that man that I know I respect above all men, that I know, that I believe were in my life. You understand? But she told me, she said, my mother was the one that is always telling me to endure. That, a woman has to endure. And I know in today's Nigeria, I know women that are being told to endure. And I don't think there's any one of us here who would say they don't know a woman who has been told to endure, or a man who has been told that, oh, it's your wife, you have to endure it. Because where do you go? There are women who are not financially powerful. There are men who don't know how to start. And because of this, and because we've been taught. So Pastor, my emphasis is in the area of our psychological upbringing. So it had to do with majorly what we are taught when we are growing. It had to do with what we go to church to learn or mosque to learn on a daily basis. This is what is the basis of the bane of our society. That's my perspective. Anyway, I go to the next question. One thing that this platform allows me to do is that I'm not just moderating.
Allow me to interject here. I want us to jump in. There's something that I like that the pastor has said. Sometimes when we blame the church, especially, we are saying that every Nigerian is a very obedient person. who obeys all the laws, all the things. We know that we are not. We also know that most of the issue they are social, they are legalistic. I think, like I said earlier on, we need to put pressure on the legislators, especially at the state level, to enact laws that deal specifically with domestic violence. And not just making the law, there should be enforcement of those laws. So then one of the cultural inhibition is this inability to speak up. Many people don't speak up. Like the example you gave now, your mother who was advising her own mother, she's not a pastor to her mother, she's a daughter. So why are we now blaming the church for everything?
No, that was my grandmother. That was my grandmother. My great grandmother was the one that was telling her to endure.
Okay, your great grandmother was so, but was she a pastor?
No, she wasn't. That's what I'm saying. That
So it
this
is a
is
society, it is a social,
ethno-religious.
it's a social something.
Of
It's with
course, I
social
know.
cohesion, social labeling. The truth,
My grandmother, and I mean my great grandmother were not. They were not Christians. My grandfather was not a Christian. You know. But what I'm saying is that it had to do with our social life, generally our social cultural life, and now with the popularity of religion in Nigeria, both Islam and Christianity, it has made it worse. That's my perspective. But then I'm going to ask the next question. Um, the need to control, all right, control, and there are people who feel like they need to be in control. There are people who feel like they have to be controlled, that a man needs to give them instruction, a man needs to control them. Or there are men also who feel like they have to be in control. So I'm asking either Chisholm or Tosin, how do you think this power and need to control, how do you think this is contributing to abuse in relationships?
Okay, so control is abuse, whether we like it or not. During my research, looking through what domestic violence is, I came across emotional and psychological control, abuse, sorry. And then I also found out that control itself is abuse. So whether we like it or not, I'm not saying that it is bad to be submissive and all of that. No, submissive is another aspect where you're respecting your husband. But then, just as the pastor mentioned, a lady is locked in her house. She cannot even go out to make her hair. That is control. A woman's car, two cars that was given to her as a gift, is taken away from her. She cannot use any of it. And she even treks to church or treks when she has a car to drive. That is control. And that is the issue. That's the issue we need to address right now. I'm not going to sound really biased because there are women who control their husbands, and even if we don't have a clear percentage of it, but then there are more percentage. Why? Because women are the ones coming out to speak out. No man will come out to say, okay, my wife controls me at home. It's going to be a
God
shame.
bless you,
There's
Jare.
no Yes. So
A
there's no
lot
clear
of Nigerian men
percentage
are being controlled, they just cannot
are
say it.
being controlled in their house, but they cannot come out to say it. But this is psychological and emotional abuse, where a woman feels like you give the woman the impression that she's nothing. You give the woman the impression you want to control you want to control her finances. You don't want her to work, and even if you want her to work, you want to take. But Sinachi was the breadwinner, just like Madam Dorothy stated. Yeah, she was the breadwinner of the family, but did she see any of this money? He wanted to control her finances. He wanted to control where or what work or job she was doing at that particular moment. And a lot of women don't even see or don't understand what emotional and psychological abuse is. And I think that's what we should address now. You should know that you're emotionally abused or psychologically abused when you feel like you cannot do anything without the man, or when the man has given you the impression that you are nothing without him. And that is the reason why some women are afraid of leaving these relationships. Why? Fear, shame. I cannot do it without the man. This is you that wants you to you look at yourself in a mirror and feel like, oh, I am beautiful. I am beautifully and wonderfully made in God's love. But then the moment you get into that relationship, it makes you feel like you're ugly. It makes you feel like you are nothing. This is you that probably went to school, you have a certificate, but then you feel like you cannot get a job because the man makes you feel like, oh, you are dumb. This is control. So I'm not saying the control is, sit down or don't sit down. These are like the abuse, the psychological part, where the man makes you feel like you cannot do anything for yourself. You cannot even go out and survive out there without depending on him. They make you dependent on them. They want to control you financially. They're controlling you psychologically. So that is the control.
Yeah, the question is, does women, an average Nigerian woman, want to be in control? Do they not want to be controlled? Typical women.
Nobody wants to be controlled. Nobody wants to be controlled.
You think
No
so?
woman. Yes, nobody wants to be controlled. I was speaking to somebody,
what do you think?
and I was speaking to somebody. Sorry, I was speaking to somebody, and a woman that wants to be controlled is, and this person termed the woman that wants to be controlled as being a sadist. So nobody wants to be controlled. I want to be submissive to my husband. I do not want him to control me. I want to respect my husband. I don't want him to control me. I want to have a life. I want to have friends. I don't want him to stop me from having friends. I don't want him to stop me from associating with my family. And all those things are control.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's very common actually. People saying you can this one, I don't like this your friend, I don't like that one.
Okay. I want to first say that when we blame what people will say for the reason why a lot of people stay in abusive relationship, both male and female, particularly for the female. But I have seen today in Nigeria, my country, that a lot of women who dress half naked, married women, who have tattoos, who are gay, who do whatever they like. Why are they not afraid of what people will say when they do these things? Why is it only when it comes to domestic violence that they say what people will say? Look at them. Most of the married women do whatever they like in dressing, in gay, in you buy what you call it, dildo, whatever they are doing. They don't care. They have tattoos. They dress half naked. So why are they not afraid of what society will say? We didn't used to tolerate these things before, but now they do it without damning what anybody says. So why can't they use the same energy to move when they are being abused? Believe it or not, more men are being emotionally abused. Men abuse women physically. The majority of the women abuse their men verbally with hurting words. They kill their ego. They kill their self-esteem. You see such men making mistakes when they go to work. You see such men becoming bitter. Everybody transfer aggression to anybody they come across because there's no peace in their home. They are emotionally drained and abused. You see a woman abusing a man. A woman will hold a man and say, if you don't beat me, you're a bastard. If you don't beat me, your man will burn you. When you say this thing to a man, you provoke him to beat you. But I tell you, dear man listening to me, don't beat her. Take your shirt and take a walk. Because if you beat her, the law will ask you for physical evidence of abuse. And you don't have to say, verbal word, no get physical evidence. And you go to jail. So don't, no matter what, even some women, even when the man is keeping quiet, that's when they talk more. They won't stop. They have IBM typewriter tongue. So controlling domestic abuse, what causes it? What do you do each time that causes this problem? Let women learn to bridle their tongue. Some men say words pass women from matter. They will carry chair, sit down, give and give you. That is no longer marriage. When it gets to the place where center cannot hold, I think everybody should go to your tent, all Israel. If a woman is so bad that you don't want her again, please do her back to sender. Send her to her parents alive. Don't send her as corpse to her parents. And if a man, look at it, talking about control, more men are being controlled than women. A man gets married. His mother, his siblings are not allowed in his house. Meanwhile, his wife's mother and family lives in that house. They are the one free to come and go. The man's family, they are witches. Witches that did not kill him before he grew up to marry you. You take your husband's phone 247. You control him like he's a baby. Meanwhile, your children under your roof are practicing romance that they learned from movie. You're not paying attention to your children. You're paying attention to your man. You want to possess your possession. Eh? So domestic violence is to be controlled from every angle. Like the pastor rightly said, people You can't see a man coming to kill you and you wait. And don't kill a man with your mouth now. Some of the mouth where say for kill more than beating and all that. You see, that's why how men are create, how men are made. They use the fist, but you use your mouth. You sit down there, typewriter. When you come, you start shouting, don't kill me, don't kill me. Don't kill him with your mouth first. And dear man, please, if you're not a real man, when you keep laying your hands on a woman, take a walk. End the relationship instead of killing each other. People meet to part now. I know some people who parted from their husbands and they are happy. Some men who remarried and they are happy. If it's not working, if we do temporary separation and we can't come back together, let's end it. Life is better. Life is short. And dear woman, please give the men peace at home. I don't think they are mad people that you go and come back, you are done normal till I start beating you. Please now, please, God will help all of us. Control, women are more controlled than men, but they do it with style. Even Ruth and Boaz. You see, Ruth didn't propose to Boaz, but she used style. But today's woman will go and kneel down and propose to a man, and you don't care what people will say. Well, do we used to do those things before? No. So you do things that we don't used to do before. You don't care what people will say. So why do you care what people will say when you want to live a domestic environment? I don't understand it.
All right, Matt, thank you. I want Village Boy to respond to this question after Tosin had responded to the question. The issue of dissonance, all right? Dissonance is the sense that the difference between expectation before marriage and the reality. How is this actually causing trouble in a relationship? That's for Village Boy. But Tosin,
Okay.
I want you to respond to this one. What is the role of finances in relationship, and how do you think this is probably leading to ghost bars in marriage relationship?
Please, permission to go. Please, I appeal to you, all members. I want to take my leave. Please, permit me to leave.
All right, man. Thank you, man.
Please.
Thank you very
And
much.
just my last word, finance and Nigeria economy is even the worst. It's one causing problem. Because of no money, where comes sir, is raised by the man as, can I have 10 naira? So, I don't know. See you guys.
All right, Tosin.
Okay, thank you very much. Very quickly, before I respond to the finance in marriage and relationship, I want to say this, that it is not only because of what people will say that makes some women to stay in abusive relationship or marriage. Sometimes it's not what people will say because they are divorcee or because they leave their marriage. Sometimes it is their over dependence on men, and not only because the man is bringing money in or so, but some people, the society, some women just think that if they don't have a partner or they don't have a man in their life, they are incomplete. So they think of this also, and that also subject them to stay in abusive relationship. They think, if I will leave this man now, who go marry me? If I will leave this man now, will I now go to my parents' house and become Limosu, like you said last time? So this reason also make a lot of women to be in abusive relationship. Talking about finance. Now, finance, especially in Nigeria, is leading to many abuse in relationship, in marriage. Not only relationship between husband and wife, but relationship between even parents and the kids. Finance in marriage is very important. See, when there is money, happiness will flow. When there is no money, when money is not on ground, even some words that are made to be laughed off will turn out to be fight, because the man has gone out all day and is coming back with empty hand. And also, a man without money doesn't command respect. A man without money doesn't command respect from the wife, doesn't command respect from even the kids. A man without money doesn't command respect. So finance got to do a lot about having a peaceful home. And I'm not saying that those that are rich they don't have a broken home too. But if you have money, if people have money, and according to what I've seen, what I know, when money is on ground, relationship, it moves smoother. And there's this guy that sang, it's Davido. He say love is sweet, but when money enter, then the love is sweeter. So love is sweet, but when money is involved, it becomes sweeter. So the economic problem we have in Nigeria now is leading to most of the problem we have in marriages, in relationship between family problem that we have, because most people they used to have before, now they don't have again. The kind of respect they command when they used to have, they don't command it again, and this is giving them a lot of bitterness. People have gone out since morning. You see, not only at home, fight is happening everywhere in Nigeria. In the bus, 5 naira will cause fight between somebody that have dressed up nicely with tie. Here, a conductor will be abusing themselves. We almost be throwing punch because of 5 naira, because of change. So it's not only at home. The economic situation of Nigeria is getting more serious. Another thing I want us to talk about is we should not just see abuse in marriages. We should see what leads to this. Some people, they grow up to start abusing their partner because they grow up themselves in an abusive home where their parents abuse themselves, so they see nothing bad in it. So I think
Yeah.
this should be addressed too. Some people, some people, it is yeah, because they grow up to seeing this. Another thing is how we treat our kids also matter a lot. If we bring them up with love and respect, they will grow up to be an adult that love and respect their partner and not abusing their partner.
Thank you, Tosin. I would want Pastor to respond to that issue a few minutes after now. And that is the issue of Nigerians generally, we seem to be highly aggressive, you know. And I think this might be playing on, because you see husband and wife, they are talking, even they are not fighting, the way they are talking, self, you find out that, now, wow, you know, to be honest, I was 20 something years old before I actually was experienced a marriage relationship where I can say, okay, this one, a husband and wife. As in, I was 20 something years old already. Because I grew up in the village, everybody talk, people, the husband is like a king. I'm an Ekiti man. The husband, he is a king. Whatever he says is final. Those are the kind of environment where I grew up in. All right. So and naturally, if you even people who are not Nigerians used to say they often say Nigerians are gri or gara gara. It's something like that they say to us in Dubai, and this is true. When you look at the way we talk to ourselves, I remember when growing up, it is an abuse. We used to greet ourselves. Somebody say, Lori kini kan yen, that is your good morning. And that is like can we separate that from marriage relationship? How do we separate that from marriage relationship? How is it not going to be leading to abuse today? Anyway, Pastor, I'll come back to you for that. But now I want Village Boy to address the issue of dissonance.
Yeah, thank you very much. Talking about dissonance, let me start from where Joseph stopped. You see, when we talk about money in marriage, it is not lack of money alone that causes trouble. Too much money causes trouble too. Where you have money, even as a man, some men they have money, and they have a spendthrift wife, it can cause trouble. On the other side, when you have a very erudite man, though he has the money, but he's erudite, will be pitching money. He will be backing his wife to bring money from the pocket. Money either is much or it's not much. There's one of my senior colleague who said something. No, I never forget. He said, "Look, if you want woman to fear you, be poor. If you are very poor, that there's every likelihood that your wife will fear you." I didn't take. I mean, I had to take months to analyze that statement. So money is neither here nor there. It depends on the, if you have a spender as a wife, even if you have money like Dangote, there may still be trouble. Then if you have money as a man and you are extremely stingy, breeze no dey blow your money, it go cause trouble. I know that the general economic situation is putting pressure on everybody in Nigeria, and the person you are closest to can be a victim of that pressure. That is general. That has nothing even to do with marriage, beyond marriage. That one is there. Now, talking about dissonance, the truth is that in life, we all have expectation. I have seen situations, somebody who married, at the time he was marrying, he had almost nothing. And just few months after marriage, he had a breakthrough, got a good job, got a car, got everything. I've seen not one, not two, not three. Yes, we will have expectation. All of us do have expectation. And that's even why, I mean, like but I don't know whether it's what I was telling to that, speaking to some other weeks ago, that in our time, when you want to marry, they will ask whether you have a room of your own, whether you have television, whether you have video, VHR, because those things were causing trouble. Because if you don't have television and they are showing the village headmaster, your wife will go to your neighbor house to go and watch. It was creating problem. Or when you hear that you have fridge, so that your wife will not be going to neighbor in the excuse of going to go and collect ice water tutu. That's how we call it in Lagos. It will now be parading. So all those things are the issue then. But what are the issues today? A young lady perhaps is looking for a man that that has blown. But I think it's the reverse the case now. Young men are looking for women that have made it. All in the sense, pretend that they don't want to marry a liability. They are looking for a woman who is richer than them, who can feed them, who can. And men these days they don't marry. They don't marry. When they marry, they go to the park their load to go and meet their wife, who is living in a flat where they are living in one single room. So all these things they are not stable. Usually, it's our expectation before marriage is not what we meet. And the truth is that when you are getting married, the understanding, this is where the church come in. The understanding in marriage counseling, the marriage counseling is like it takes two working in partnership. That is the mystery of the oneness, working to achieve synergy, working together. Because if you have the money, if the man has the money and the woman is not a good manager of resources, that will be issue. We have seen a situation where the woman earns more than the man, and you will never know because they have perfect working relationship. So life, even like just I was saying, budgeting is you can't predict with absolute exactitude. You can't. Nobody knows tomorrow. Everybody build their expectation. There are people who just want to marry. They just want to marry. They don't even have any expectation. So, like I was listening to a cartoon. One lady was complaining that he didn't know that the man was this poor before he married him. And the man asked him, what were you thinking when I was telling you you are the only one I got? So I didn't tell you I get money. I didn't tell you I get money. That doesn't, I mean, it will always be there. Our expectations are not always what we meet. It may become better. What we meet on the road may be better than what we even think. Even sometimes That can also cause a trouble. For instance, if you are struggling to eat, as maybe you are doing a very humble business and everything, and after marriage, after 2 years in marriage, you just have a breakthrough and you become a multimillionaire. The man that normally come home around 7 and we sit down, play with the kids or do this thing, he suddenly discovered that they are selling fish pepper soup around his house. The thing has always been there, but he didn't know because his focus was not on there. And he now started keeping home late. So there are a lot of things, changes could be for good, it could be for bad. I think it is the understanding, the grounding of the people involved with the marriage that will determine whether that marriage will be stable despite the changes that occur from after marriage. Everybody has the right to have expectation, but that expectation may or may not come the way we want it. But that is not the ground. I mean, that should not be enough ground. Like I would say, people should do. What happened? Okay, people, people should. I think there's also a job for the boy child now, because as the things is going now in Nigeria, especially, I'm afraid the boy child is losing touch with the responsibility, and the boy child is becoming overtly aggressive, and most of them are becoming very lazy and depending and looking for a woman that has made it to marry. I think it is high time we started teaching or training boy child what to prepare for a marriage. They don't teach us. They didn't teach us. We were not taught. It's only the guy they were teaching. When you are preparing the guy child for a good marriage and you are not preparing the man who is going to be the partner for a good marriage, there will be issues. Of course, seeing societal expectations, societal pressure too. Comparison is one of the major problems that even cause issue. You marry to somebody that is working in a Oceanic Bank because your friend marry another person that is working in Oceanic Bank, and they are living in duplex in Lekki, and therefore you think since you marry another, you also marry from that bank. I'm just using that as an example. Anyway, Oceanic Bank no longer exists now. So, and you now put pressure on your husband that you must also live in Lekki. That is not how life is configured. That is not how life is configured. There will always be changing expectation, but that is not should not be a reason for domestic violence. It should not be.
All right, thank you, sir. Chi, I dropped a message for you. I hope you've seen it. Check. Okay. Anyway,
I'm sorry,
the
I've
message.
been facing network.
Yeah, I know that you have been having network issues. You will take the question after Pastor has finished speaking, and then Tosin will start on the way forward when we begin to round up to close. So the question to you, Chi, is this one. Let me read to you, just if you can't find it. It's when you look at social cultural way of settling abuse. In my opinion, is usually involve asking people, the couple, to endure. Okay, endure. He will change, or she will change. People are always believing like that person that pastor was saying. This guy was already abusing him. I mean her before the marriage, but he was believing that the guy will change, and this is common. All right. So now, what would you advise young couples, who are in such abusive relationship? That's the question to you, Chi. But let's take Pastor for now. Pastor, I hope you still remember the question.
Yes, I think about aggressive nature.
Yes.
Okay, yes, I do. Well, before I go directly to the question, there's something I would even really love to have Professor Dr. Bolu's thought on, which is this. 10 years ago, there was no pornographic industry in Nigeria. Today, Nigeria has a pornographic industry. In the next 10 years, Nigeria will be second to America in pornographic production. These are normal women in our society, no longer ashamed to go naked in front of a camera and have sex. One of them was brought to TVC some time ago. So it's not something secretive. It's not like an underground thing that they do, that they wear masks or cover themselves. So I'm wondering, how come what is responsible for a dichotomy in the society where we have women who are bold enough now that they can do that? They can go before camera and have sex naked, and they don't care that everybody in Nigeria is watching them, even though they are Nigerians. And at the same time, then they now say, oh, she's afraid of society. She doesn't want to do this. Why are they not afraid of what society will do to do porn? I would really love to have his thoughts on that. Then the word endure, I think we will be given wrong impression if we completely say there is no place for endurance. I do not think there is any marriage where we will not have to endure with one another. It now only depends on the material the material substance of that endurance. There's no way, for example, if the husband is well dressed and ready to go out, and the wife she's still sluggish and so on, in a proper marriage, as a man, you must endure that. You cannot get aggressive and drive away. You have to patiently wait and allow her to catch up. There are so many things we have to endure in marriage. So when people use the word endure, it will be wrong to just say that it is that word endure that is making women to stand abusive relationship, because that word also has its own place and its own usefulness, even in the most functioning marriage. In fact, one of the characteristics of a very good marriage is endurance, is the fact that they can forgive one another, they can tolerate one another, they can help one another. So I just feel that I should quickly comment on that. Then there is a crime program, an American crime program that features abusive marriage where they actually kill one another. There is so much killing, spousal killing, such that they can have a program on it on TV every day, and they are not running out of such stories. I'm saying this to help us to realize that it's not just a Nigerian thing. This thing, it happens even where people don't believe in God. It happens everywhere. The difference may be that they have a system where they are able to maybe investigate and bring the perpetrator to justice. Whereas on our own, it seems that they are just walking free. Now to the question specifically that I'm asked. You're absolutely right that as a people, we are aggressive. We're people that is very aggressive. The policeman on the road is aggressive. The doctor that wants to attend to you is aggressive. The nurse is aggressive. The lecturer, he's just aggressive. I work in a university, and I've seen it severally that it looks strange to some people when students walk into my office or people come to me and I'm like, good afternoon, please sit down, how may I help you? Even the students are shocked that how can somebody treat us like this? They expect me, in fact, they'll put their hands at the back and they're already afraid of what this monster is going to do to them. So we are a people that, I don't know, strangely, we are very aggressive. However, from a biblical perspective, one of the fruit of the Holy Spirit is gentleness. So when you really understand the Christian life, your own attitude, your own behavior is going to turn out different. And that's why we actually stand a better chance at raising people who are gentle, who are kind, who are loving for marriage. But I agree that as a society, that we are somewhat parents are aggressive. You know, when you see some foreign parents, they are so nice the way they talk to their children and so on. But here, you know, my father will be pointing me to where the cane is, and he says, I'm asking you, tell me what is the issue. Now I'm different now. Today I'll carry my daughter, and at times I shake my head. I'm like, oh, I wish if she had done that, if she had gone through what I went through, I'm sure she's not going to survive it. So we are naturally like that, but I don't have a solution for that for the society. But I know that from a Christian perspective, the Lord tempers our temperament. The Lord works in us such that we are able to relate in a different way and in a different manner. And on the issue of money, if two people, I believe, they really know the Lord, they submit themselves to the Lord. It wouldn't even matter whether there is money or there is no money, or who has the money or who doesn't have the money. It will not really matter, because they understand, first of all, that the purpose of getting married is to fulfill the purpose of God. And so they are focused on that as couples. They are united in purpose. So it doesn't matter through whom the resources is coming from. But I understand that the natural man, money plays a lot of role and it causes a lot of problem. Like somebody rightly said, where do you want a woman with 3 children to suddenly run to? She can't even afford to rent a house on her own. She can't pay those children's school fees. She doesn't want to leave them with an aggressive and abusive father. And so she's in a fix. And she's thinking, maybe, okay, all I can do is to endure this. So maybe one of the things we can, okay, I'll comment on that when we are talking about way forward.
All right. Thank you very much, Pastor. Chi?
All right, so I think this is the 21st century where sociocultural views do not matter anymore. We've seen stages, or we've seen times when a lot of things were not allowed in the past, but right now it is allowed. So my advice to young ladies, young couples that feel, and I think you don't even need to advise them because a lot of them already know what to do. So at that point in your life or in your marriage where you're being threatened, where you're physically abused, you're emotionally abused, and maybe when you go back to family, when you go back to friends, you go back to your pastor, and they're saying, "Oh, sister, brother, be steadfast in the Lord, stay back in that marriage. God is going to change him." My dear, he's not going to change in if you stay back. You should not always see yourself as a loser when you leave. Instead, let's I think women should also see themselves as winners when they're able to leave that relationship, not even minding what the community or the church or your friends would say. So please, let's push away that mindset. I want to call it the mindset. Let's push away that mindset that the man is going to change. If he's going to change, please don't be there while he's going to change. If you've gotten to the stage where you feel like your life is being threatened, you need to leave. You need to leave. And I think what we should be talking about now is how these people who are abused should leave this relationship. What are the steps that they should take? And I think maybe I'd mention it when, like the pastor has said, way forward, my own views on domestic violence, and when I feel like women should leave and when they should leave. Please, no man is going to change. A man that has beaten you, that has abused you in front of your children in the public is not going to change. He will continue doing it. The best thing to do is to leave that relationship for sanity, for your safety. If you can take your children, leave. Like Madam Dorothy has said, if you cannot go to your church, then go to the mosques. Go somewhere where you have, your own safety place to be able to think, to be able to figure out the next step to take for yourself and for your children mentally. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, Pastor Mokolu, I believe I pronounced it well. Ask Village Boy one question the other time. I don't know whether Village Boy got the question. It was.
Yeah, I got the question.
Okay.
Yes, I've heard of some of all these things, but there are also factors we have to consider. Did they do this thing willingness, out of willingness? That's number one. Number two, are they under? I mean, could they be under influence of drugs because most of these people are drugged, and because some are loyal to it because of money, some of them may not even know they are being recorded. So those are factors, and those who willingly, because of the money, accept that. It's a new development that is very frightening in the society. It's like we now see two extremes of people who are breaking the social barrier in the wrong way. I mean, if I may use that word. Then we see people who are still cocooned in the old socio-economic pressure that they don't want, to kind of be seen as a social outcast. Of course, for the latter group, economic also could play a role. Because we've seen women who are financially all right, they pull out by themselves. They can cater, some say, I can cater for myself and my children. They don't even wait for anybody to cancel them. They move. Though there are some of them also would not want to move because they believe they have attained a kind of societal status that it would be a shame that they have failed marriage. I think there are a lot of, again, it's still going to boil down to individuals, what the individual is doing. The societal pressure may be loosening a bit, but it is still there. It is still there and it still has effect on some people. There are some people who are not able to win themselves out of it. And I think, again, one thing I want to emphasize based on all we are saying now, it is not even sufficient to say somebody should leave abusive marriage. We should also encourage them to report perpetrators to law enforcement agents. I know that our agency are not yet fully prepared to handle some of these things because you still go to a local police station now. They will say it's a matter of husband and wife. They will go and settle it at night, and they may not pay attention to the issue. They dismiss them. So I think there's also we have to retrain our police officers that when there is an issue of domestic violence report, at least that what they do here in the advanced countries, like that day, at least the man will not be allowed to sleep in the house. For the day there's a report, immediately there's a report, the man is pulled out of the scene. They leave the woman and the children protected. Or in some places, they move them to the shelter. But most likely, it's like they will leave the wife and the children at home and move the man to the shelter. I know we don't have such facility in Nigeria, but then the police should be oriented that they should not dismiss any report of domestic violence as the issue of husband and wife. They should go and sort it as family affairs. And we should move away from there. That creates a lot of problem. And any woman who thinks that she's living abusive marriage should report. You can even go to court. I don't know how that will work. Then again, I'm appealing to our state assembly, let us enact specific laws that deal with domestic violence because the society is already in comatose. We are going to lose our complete sanity if we don't do something legally about this thing because it's becoming too rampant. Thank God, I mean, it's like now within Nigeria has become a matter for domestic violence issue. So let us move away from the social media comment and all this is and proselytizing on the social media. Let us enact specific law. I think by now I think they should have arrested the husband. I don't know.
Yeah, I think he has been arrested. Anyway,
So
thank you, village boy.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. I have one more question for Pastor, and then I want you to do, if possible, package it such that it will be your goodbye message, and every other one also will deliver their goodbye message. At least for this session. I would love for us to continue. I have a lot of issues that I would have loved to ask, but then it's becoming, voluminous, and we've spent a lot of time too. So this question here is based on what is written in the Bible in Matthew chapter 5, verse 32. Another one is in Proverbs 25:24. All right. He said, but I say unto you that whoever shall put away his wife, saving for the cause of fornication, causeth her to commit adultery. And whoever shall marry her that is divorced, committed adultery. So, in other words, the Bible is saying that if you leave your wife and then she goes sleep with another man or marry another man or engage in sexual act with another man, you are making them, the new man and the woman, to commit adultery. Okay, that's one. The second one, in Proverbs 25:24, say, it is better to dwell in a corner of housetop or rooftop than in a house shared with a contentious woman. What about a contentious man? You know, why is it about the woman being contentious? You know, and why is it about putting away your wife and whoever sleeps with her is committing adultery? Why about what about the man? And because see, I know personally who the husband left, and you know, as I say this, I would want Village Boy to also include this one, what I'm going to say now in his closing remark. And this is the issue of divorce, the process of divorce in Nigeria. I know somebody who has been, the husband left, and then the husband was the one that went to court safe. It's been over 5 years or 6 years. They are still in court now. The husband don't get another woman, don't born children. You know, but the woman here is with the children and still struggling and managing and struggling. You know, she's a young woman who is scared of what people will say if she goes sleep with somebody, and somehow, you know, a lot of things have been happening. So, but the law in Nigeria, I know that it's because they want to, you know, protect the institution of homes, and it is like that in many other countries. Even in India, I've had friends who have had to stay in court, you know, for many years to get a divorce, but the man is already moved on, you know, but the woman seemed to be unable to move on. And this is like related to what I'm asking Pastor in Ephesians, I mean, Matthew, I keep saying Ephesians, Matthew 5:32. Pastor.
All right. Thank you very much. Again, very quickly, I want to say that there is a systemic failure in Nigeria. So you can't expect one aspect of the system to just suddenly be good. The police cannot rise beyond the system of Nigeria. The same thing is happening in health. The same thing is happening in the military. It's happening in education. It's a systemic failure. So a police that is still dealing with kidnapping, ritual killing, and so on, you know, if you go to them and say your husband is abusing you, you know, it looks like it's the least of all of their problems. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying that there's a systemic failure in Nigeria that is affecting every aspect. Now to your specific question. The first one where Jesus said, except for fornication. Please always have a context in mind. Jesus was teaching his disciples. It was a sermon on the mount. He didn't even preach it to the public. It was only his disciples that came to him, that Jesus sat down and taught them. There were things Jesus didn't say to everybody. They will have issues with it. But he said it to people who had denied themselves, take up their cross, and following him, no matter what happened. Me as a person, God forbid, if my wife leaves me and she's still alive, I won't remarry. That's part of my own personal work with God. And nobody will preach it to me. Nobody will tell me any other thing. I just hold it that way, that if, God forbid, if it happens, I'm going to remain, because I don't really need marriage to serve God. And I don't really need marriage to function in life. I can serve God whether I'm married or not. I can function well in life without marriage. I don't pray it happens, but that's my personal conviction. So it depends on how everybody now want to relate with it. People can't say that is what is holding them down, because the same scripture that says flee fornication, you are not obeying it, you are fornicating. So you can't say this one is holding you down. And Jesus, when he said, if you look at a woman, people are not saying, why did he talk to men? You see, it's both ways. He said, if you look at a woman and lust after her in your heart. But we understand that he's talking to everybody. It doesn't necessarily mean male. But I want to read a scripture to you in Proverbs 22:24. It says, make no friend with an angry man, and with a furious man thou shalt not go. So the Bible is not talking only about a woman. This is a scripture to Proverbs 22:24. He said, do not be a friend with an angry man. And that will actually lead me to what I want to conclude on. That for us as believers, the best safety is to marry right. And part of marrying right is to know those you can marry or you can't marry. For example, the Bible has said, do not be a friend with an angry man. You are now dating a man that has problem with anger. What do you want God to do? He has told you, don't be a friend with an angry man. Then you go and get married. And then you are like, oh, look at all this church. Look at what they are saying. No, you violated God's word. Simple wisdom will have kept you from that person. He said, do not be unequally yoked together with unbeliever. Unbelievers are not people who don't believe in God. The devil believes and he trembles. Unbelievers in our own context are people who have not submitted their lives to the authority of Jesus. Now, you now go and marry such a person. What do you expect? How do you expect that person to treat you? Which means that we need to labor on our single people to marry right. I wrote a book titled Choosing the Right Spouse, and we are giving that book free of charge, printed, given free of charge. It is part of the effort to raise young people, to show them the biblical principles that helps us to marry right. If the foundation is faulty, what can the righteous do? You will see women that they will travel to go and meet a man they have never seen before. They will have sex with him. They will do all kinds of things with him. They have all kinds of relationship that, to any good sensible person, is already abusive. Now, when you now marry that kind of a person, you now want that person to treat you like an angel. You marry a devil and you are complaining that he's treating you like a demon. That is how he's going to treat you. So for us, it is more of getting it right. As a believer, how are you supposed to marry? Who are the kind of people you should not marry? I just gave you just one example. Just that one scripture will have saved many women. I know a woman that married a man, left her job. He has a car. The man is riding the car. Tell her not to work because she had to relocate to join the man. When she's taking her child to school, she will be waiting for Okada, and the man will drive her car past. I now told her, I said, sister, you said you are a child of God. If truly you are, when you were getting married, God will have shown you a sign not to marry this man. I said, think. Then she said, it's true that few weeks to their wedding, they had an argument, and this man slapped her terribly. And I'm like, see, you can't blame God. You already saw the sign. Why did you still go ahead with it? So that's why, see, we must labor for the singles. For those who have not yet entered into it, they have future. We must not give them this impression that, just get out. Even when you are now saying every abuse, just get out, just get out. How do you define the abuse? If a man or if a lady gets angry one day and said, dear, you are a stupid man, should the man leave the marriage and say it's verbal abuse? Should he leave the marriage? If it was the other way around, should she just pack her load and say, oh, this is verbal abuse? You see, we must be careful when we simply say that, oh, people should just move out, move out, move out, move out. There is a clear case that when something is threatening to your life, it's not Bible, it's not doctrine, it's not anything, it's just normal human expectation. Run. You don't need anybody to teach you that. But the focus from a Christian perspective is that we need to raise our young people and teach them. When you look at churches today, if you spend I know preachers, they've been preaching for 40 years in Nigeria. Look at what happened recently when somebody told young people that if they want to marry, they should dance to the altar. And they all dance to the altar. Rather than sit them down, open scripture, and teach them what they need to know about getting married. You said they should sow seed of a marriage. They should use faith card. You see wedding card. We are just deceiving people. Now, all of those things also happen in the church. I know all of those things happen. But we need to still focus on raising them. In the society, there is definitely a need to have an effective law that can arrest, that can prosecute, and serve as deterrent to anybody that want to try it. I'm sure one of the reasons why some men actually do it is because they feel that they are invisible, that nothing can actually happen to them. Some of them will be beating their wife and say, see, nothing can happen to me. Go and even call Inspector General of Police. I will tell you that he cannot do anything to me. You see, because there is no deterrent. Nobody has put them in jail. So that's on the part of the society. On the part of the church, we must begin to focus on helping young people understand marriage correctly, not taking marriage as an idol, but understanding that it is purposeful and guide them into a proper and correct marriage.
All right. Thank you, Pastor. Thank you very much. I didn't want to drop some bomb there, but because of time, I would have said that, we agree that an average Nigerian have a short fuse. So when the Bible says we shouldn't, that one of the qualifications should be somebody who gets angry and we get short fuses. So there'll be a lot of us stranded, though. Anyway, let's go to Tosin before Village Boy, and then no, I go to Tosin and then Chisholm. Then Village Boy will do the grand finale. Tosin, are you still there? Yes, so we are
Yes,
closing.
I'm here.
Way forward, way forward.
Okay, the way forward is that people should bring up their kid with love. Uh, Parents should avoid argument and fight in front of their words, so as not to expose them. And women that have been in abusive relationships should seek help. They should talk to people around them. Uh, People should stop seeing marriage as uh, the only achievement in their life. There are many other people that are not married and living a godly and a blessed life. It is not
Yeah.
only those that are married that will make heaven. Some people that
Somebody
are not
say marriage
married,
is not for everybody.
yeah, it's not for everybody. So some people that are not married also will make heaven. And if you're in relationship in marriage, me, I don't see abuse as anything. We can talk, we can abuse, we can. There's no how people will stay together. Now they say there's no perfect marriage, right? So there's no how people will stay together and will not quarrel. So there will be abuse, there will be, but for me, raising of hand and hitting any of the partner is a no. Is what I see as a no. So if someone is watching now or be watching in the future, if you're in an
So
abusive
Sunday,
relationship,
Tosin, you are saying you don't recognize emotional abuse or verbal abuse, Niyan?
emotion, no, too much of everything is bad. Too much of everything is bad. Too much of everything is bad. So for me, what I frown most against is hitting each partner. Is
There
each
are
partner hitting
people
themselves?
don't need to beat you before they kill you these days now.
And some partner they use their mouth so much. I Some partner they use their mouth so much. I know someone like that. My dad can use his mouth so much. He can sit you down, talk for good 2 hours. The day I read uh Ephesians 6, not that part Pastor used to read though. Obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Not that part. The down part that say parent don't anger your children. So I felt, oh, so it is possible my parents anger me. So God knows this. Okay, today I will get angry. So that day he's talking, I just stand up and walk away. Since that day, never talk again. So people should learn to walk away from their partner that use their mouth to talk too much against them. The way forward also is that people should talk to people around them. If you need help, don't be ashamed to talk to people around you. Don't see yourself as you are an island, as you know it all. If as God is using you, or because God is using you to minister as a pastor or as a chorister, does not mean you are God Himself. No, you can still need help. Talk to people around you when needed. And when a partner is abusive, you have no reason to defend such partner. You have no reason to defend such partner. Like in the case of that lady that will beg people not to tell other people that the husband is abusing her. And I'm surprised that it is after she's late, all people start talking too. Those that some of the abuse happen in their presence, they start talking after she's late. Why were they waiting for her to die before they start talking?
No, you can't blame them now.
So
When somebody
yeah,
you
we cannot
respect,
blame them.
yeah, you respect her. She said, please protect me. You have to protect her now. Like Pastor
Okay,
said, somebody has sent a message to her. He is also trying to protect that
protect the
woman.
person.
Yeah,
So
because if you take it to the public, it can actually scatter everything, and some people will blame you. Even now, some people are blaming Osina Shifra, the victim.
Yeah, a lot of people are blaming her. So the way
Yeah.
forward, we should talk to, like we have said in the platform there tonight, also especially our male kids. We should treat our children generally to love. We should treat them to treat people with dignity and with respect. We should we ourselves also should be exemplary. We should live an exemplary life to our kids. They should see us, they should grow up in a peaceful home. Some of these people that grow up to start abusing their partner, they grow up in a violent home. So I believe if we do go this way, and also our government, there's a lot of things for them to be, for them to do. The decay in the system in Nigeria made a lot of men to abuse their partner. There have some female also to abuse their partner and felt nothing will happen. Because ọjọ́ tó wà lọ́dún wájú Ọlọ́run ó kọjá ẹjọ́ onísìgá. Like our pastor said, the cases in the police are having now is more than domestic violence. They will tell you it's family problem. Go home and settle it. So our government, that is why people must take part, people must pay more attention into politics. You know, I'm a lover of politics. People must pay more attention to politics. See, this woman may not get justice. A lot of domestic violence victims are not getting justice already. More of them will not get justice if we don't have the right people in governance. We don't have the right people in government, domestic violence victims will not get justice. Our women, they
Okay,
should
Tosin.
start mobilizing themselves to vote for the right people to attain political office in Nigeria so that their rights will be protected. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Tosin. Um, um, all right. Chi, way
All
forward.
right.
How can we, especially how can we prepare the next generation of boys and girls, to respect each other, to be less aggressive and to understand that a boy is not better than a girl.
Okay, so I think we've spoken a lot about that right now, and I still think we're sugarcoating the domestic violence and the way forward. We're still sugarcoating it. Um, Uncle Bolo has already stated that yes, men are not trained for marriage, so they should be trained for marriage. Women should be able to bridle their tongue. They say that women's stubbornness is follow come, right? So let women learn how to bridle their tongue. Let men be trained for marriage. Let them be able to let them be trained to have patience, to exercise patience. And I think what I want to say concerning this is so that we don't sugarcoat this more. This is the matter. This is today's, problem. You know, please, for everyone who is in a relationship that you're being abused, and I stated earlier, yes, it's not every abuse that you face in a relationship that you have to leave. Just like the pastor stated earlier, I mentioned and I quote, if you feel like your life is being threatened, that is when you need to leave. You need to build a safe net. You need to know where you live with your children, where you're going to go. It's not something that should be done immediately, something that should be planned immediately. You need to find the right place to go. You need to set a goal to be independent. A lot of women that face domestic violence are people who have solely dependent on their husband, and their husband have controlled their financial life, what they should do or what how they should earn. So you need to find something to do. If you're the one that has kept your credentials under the bed, you need to dust it out. You need to start looking for something to do to be able to cater for yourself and your children. You need to learn a trade. You need to let somebody know. You need to report to the right people. You need to tell the right people. You need to let them know what you're facing. There's no shame anymore. This is the 21st century. A lot of people are open to this. People's parents are open to this. People have seen how so many women have lost their life because Osinachi is popular today. There are a lot of women who have lost their lives that are not popular, like in streets, in low cost areas that don't even come on social media. People have seen how people lost their life in domestic violence. Please, you need to report to somebody. You need to seek professional help. It's such a pity that in Nigeria here we do not see the need for therapies. They say Nigerians are strong. We do not have you do not have emotional or psychological issues. That is a lie. If you feel like the right person to speak to is your pastor, please speak to your pastor. But I'm not going to be one that will support your pastor telling you to go back to that marriage when you feel like your life is being threatened. Your pastor needs to make you understand that you are wonderfully and beautifully made in God's love. You need to be strong for yourself and your children, and you are not what anybody says you are, but what God says you are and who God says you are. So yeah, so you need to stop talking to that partner. You need to stop talking to the partner, because whether we like it or not, most women that are abused domestically, they still feel love for their partner. So that is why most of them even stay back. So if you cut every communication between you and the partner, if you cut every communication between you and the partner, you're able to concentrate for the bigger part of your life, for your children. You need to stay alive for your children. And for men, please do not be ashamed to speak up, because we have a lot of women coming out, and I feel like the society, the African society, is unfair towards men. Please speak out, talk, don't be ashamed, come out and say, yes, I am. There are women who beat their husbands. Please, I'm sure this is not new to anybody, but they don't come out to talk. There are women who control their husbands. Please come out and talk. The society is open to this. Nobody's going to insult you. Nobody's going to call you weak. People are going to stand up to you. Don't feel embarrassed. Don't feel shame. Don't have self-denial. Don't feel isolated. So that is what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chi. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Um, before we have the village boy give the grand finale, I want to say this, and I don't mean disrespect for the pastors in the house and the imams. What I wanted to say is that your pastor or your imam is not necessarily a trained counselor, unless he or she is. All right. So what you get from a trained counselor or therapist is not the same thing as what your pastor or your imam will tell you. So if you can afford one, I know it may be expensive in Nigeria, but if you can afford one, that is the best person to talk to. I learned that during divorce, the process of divorce in Nigeria, the counselors that are in the local council, I mean, is it local government or the registry where the process of divorce happen, those people too, they are people who are mostly untrained. They will be counseling the woman based on Bible and Quran. They'll be counseling the woman or the spouse on the basis of social-cultural beliefs and saying we should manage. Now, so everybody they manage. Now, so everybody they endure. And one more thing, finally, before before I stop, is that people who are from an abusive home, they are naturally attracted to fellow abusive people. They are likely to become victim of an abuse or become the abuser themselves. This is something that has been researched, and let's have village boy.
Well, thank you very much. If I want to pick up your this thing, I don't think that statement is 100% sure, because the Yoruba says "Nínú inú ìkòkò dúdú lẹ̀kọ funfun ti jáde wá." In which case a black pot can produce a white pap. There are children, I've seen children, because what they saw growing up, they decided they would never lift up their hands against their spouse. There are people that experience transform
Yeah,
them.
I
So we
agree
can,
with you, but I'm just talking about tendency.
yeah, the tendency might be there. So I'm talking about the process of divorce in Nigeria. There are two issues here. The justice system, like the pastor said, is broken. We all know it. The justice system, just like one of the system, is completely broken. There is so much delay in everything. So, and the second thing is like from what you narrated, there is this unwritten law that men are polygamous in nature. So because of that, when you even file a case of divorce, the man still go ahead and marry because he's not constrained to marry only one wife. And that is, I don't know what can be done to that, because again, we have the Muslim people who say Meluluawi. So when we are saying Meluluawi and one person is filing divorce in court, you can continue and build up the remaining me until you get to the me. I mean that is four. So, so
The person that I know is even not a Muslim.
yeah, because that creates a gap in the law. In the common law, I mean, doesn't restrain anybody that okay, if you have a divorce case, you cannot go ahead and marry. Nigeria doesn't practice that. In a place like here, if you have a divorce case, until it is fully discharged, you can't go and marry whether you're a man or a woman. But that gap exists in Nigeria, and it's more of legal issue. And because there is a section of the society that believe that men are naturally polygamous, that creates a loophole in law. And then coupled with the grind, I mean the slow process of justice, so it creates a problem. So the way forward, education, education. There are a lot of things issues that education can teach. I agree with you that most marriage counselor, though most pastor or most that in large churches you have a marriage counseling committee, they can train them. They can take them through a short course. They can ask people to come and train them because this is a thing that is needed in society, and our society is not yet in terms of affordability. It's not everybody that can approach a therapist. Somebody who is struggling to eat, to feed his, I mean, children, because some men are so crazy. I mean, for me to use that word. That's what we are not even talking. We didn't even talk about financial abuse. There are women that have seen men who fight their
We
wives
spoke about
when it
it.
is a bit a week or two to collect salary. They pick up a quarrel with their wife, so that when when they collect salary, they will drop your money. As an accountant, I'm telling you, as a payroll accountant, we have had a case where we make our staff to sign undertaking that every month we will collect there's an amount withdrawn from the person's salary, and the wife will come and collect.
I thought it's boys and girlfriend that do that
No,
during
men,
Valentine.
no. Men do it. I mean, I'm talking as way back as 80s. I've seen in where I was working, when I was in charge of payroll, I have about 3 or 4 men on my list. We made them to write letter of undertaking because their wives were always coming to report them, and they dedicated the amount that immediately we put the salary, we remove that, and every month we photocopy that agreement and put it in his pay packet because we were paying cash then. So and the woman we come the following day to come and collect the money and sign. So there are people they especially when the woman is not working. And now again, even Nigeria actually today, the economic empowerment is even tilting more towards women than men. So because most men have become very lazy, young men, they rely on bet Niger and Baba Ijebu. That's all they do. So we have to educate our people. We have to educate the parent of young boys begin to teach their boys the way they are teaching the girls in marriage. So that also everybody who suffer domestic abuse have the courage. Let them have the courage to report. I know now again where to report to is still a problem. This is going to be an issue. We need to build structure where what Lagos Lagos
Yeah,
domestic violence is
if they
doing.
live in Lagos, Lagos have a response system. I think that's
They
Yeah,
the
they
have
did.
best one in
they have
Nigeria so far.
NGOs. They have NGOs
They
that
have a
can
lot of
Yeah,
report
NGOs
and
in
take
Lagos,
immediate action.
but
yeah. The
Lagos,
number is on the screen right now, so you
but
might copy it and
the
send it to somebody who might need it.
the agency also need to do something. We have to also find a way of building shelters because one of the things that made this is the issue of homelessness. Some of these people they are afraid if I will go and report, where will I sleep? Where will I be staying with my children? So I think the agency should go ahead, step forward, and create some form of shelters, even if it is only going to be for a short period, where these people can now begin to find a reasonable accommodation to live. Because the fear of accommodation makes some people, women, to stay. So where will I go? I don't have any family in Lagos. Where will I go to? In those days, some people, they will sleep in church. Again, if the church is saying you cannot leave your husband, if you stay in the church for sleep for 1 week, they will ask you to go back home. Most likely. So there are a lot of issues that has to be addressed. But again, I think social media is doing a lot of job. That is why I think the death of Osinachi is eventually not going to be in vain if you now seize the opportunity, the kind of traction that is generating on social media. If you can use that as an opportunity to build a system that protects it's a system that cater for the victims of social domestic violence, system that punish perpetrators. You can't take that punishment for perpetrators out of the trajectories. Whatever you are going to do, if we don't include that, those who perpetrate domestic violence should pay for it. If until we do that, we may not be able to tame this devil of no, domestic violence, but train the child the way he will go. When he grows up, he will not go out of me. He will not forget. Let us begin to train the boy child. Our boys are left alone to navigate marriage by themselves. So, and
All right.
thank you.
Thank you very, 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 very much, everyone. Pastor, thank you very much. I know we've taken a lot of your time. Chi, thank you very, very much. I didn't anticipate that we're still up to this time. Tosin has said that we are going to spend 3 hours, but I'm glad that a lot of us have been able to hear their view concerning this matter, because I believe a lot of people are emotional about it. And these are things that many of us have experienced, or we have seen close people, close relatives or friends experience it. So it's important for us to be able to talk about it. As we close now, I would say this final thing based on experience. We need to train the girl child. Young women, Nigerian young women, need to know that they need to empower themselves. We are past that generation where you would be dependent on your husband, especially financially now. If you don't, you need to get to school, get a good education. If you can't get education, learn something that will give you at least the basic income that you need as a person. See, if my mom had not gotten back to school when I was around maybe 14, 16, 17, she probably would have died now. So the reason why my mother was able to survive, and be who she is today is because she went to school at that time, which was a very risky thing. In fact, people in my environment, in my family, were literally making jest of her. They were making jest of her literally. But today, the story has changed. So please let us train our girl child. If you're a woman, you're a young woman, the boy you are following, I love you now, might not last forever. Okay, so thank you very much for everyone that has come to this program. I'm very, very grateful. It means a lot. Pastor, thank you. Village boy, Esheun sir, God bless you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Citizen Oluwatosin, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sure that by next week we're going to go back to politics again, which is something you like. We probably will talk about Oshibajo and Tinubu if maybe if there's no other issue. So
The
thank you
Jesus
very
of
much.
the Jesus of Ikirun and the Judas of Ikene.
Well, we shall see. No be me talk am.
Those are the words of their supporters on the street.
Okay, let us round up this one today. We'll come
Yes,
next
so we
week for
already
that.
rounded up. Don't start another one. Anyway, thank you, sir. Thank you, sirs and ma. And for our viewers, thank you for watching. We know it is time consuming. We will see you again next week. Bye bye.